for his wrongful dismissal, but forego reinstatement.
You cannot be reinstated back to the service. You all need to ask is wrongful dismissal or discharge or whatever, or benefits. That is another matter. But from where I sit, you cannot be reinstated back to the military because those years are long enough. They have stayed out. It's in the Act, the KDF Act of 2012.
Tony stated that since his dismissal, he reported the matter to the Commission for Administrative Justice, CAJ, that wrote to KDF on his behalf, but his matter has never been heard by the military disciplinary unit.
It's like I opted for the court-martial. So the last instructions I was told then, wait, the charge sheet will be taken to the Director of Military Prosecution for the court-martial, which it never happens, sir. If you see the charge sheet, it's blank, sir.
The committee chair, Nelson Koech, stated that the CS defense, Soipan Tuya, will appear before them and answer to the allegations raised by the complainant. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
The debate over the regulation of churches resurfaced at the floor of the National Assembly Thursday, with MPs' opinion divided on whether government should directly control religion institutions or not. While some lawmakers insisted it is the duty of Parliament to shield citizens from exploitative preachers, others cautioned against blanket regulations of churches, warning that it could not infringe on the freedom of worship.
About a year after Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana withdrew the Religious Organizations Bill 2024 that sought to regulate churches in the country, a petition before the National Assembly seeking to regulate theological institutions has reignited the debate on whether churches in Kenya should be regulated, with members of Parliament split on the matter. Those supporting the regulation termed the move as timely, arguing it could curb religious exploitation of Kenyans and ensure accountability.
In one way or the other, this parliament and the state itself has failed the Kenyan public for failing to regulate these institutions as pertains to religion because they are unable to regulate themselves.
Naunga mkono hoja hii na naimani tuko tayari kuweza kurekebisha na kudhibiti dini zetu na imani zetu ili zisilete madhara.
In fact, I have a case where a so-called pastor says to come on a Saturday or it was a Sunday, you must have at least 200 shillings with you.
Licha ya kuwa wana uhuru wa kufanya mambo yao, lakini ni vizuri kuwekwa regulation ambayo itafanya wasikeuke haki za kibinadamu kwa wananchi na waweze kunyoshwa vizuri, Mheshimiwa Spika.
However, opponents maintained that churches should be allowed to self-regulate through established religious bodies.
This House should be very careful on how they handle religious leaders because it is a calling. Otherwise, we will fall trap, Honorable Speaker, to demonic question.
The renewed debate followed a petition by Reverend Josiah Njiru, who wants Parliament to enact a legislation to control the proliferation of theological colleges across the country.
Because what we are seeing in Shakahola and other places, we have seen some radicalization, we have seen some cults, Honorable Speaker, in the name of religion.
The report on the petition will be tabled before the floor of the House by the Public Petitions Committee in the next 90 days. Meanwhile, senators have condemned cases of civilian deaths in the hands of police officers, saying it's becoming unbearable. While reacting to the recent incident of Simon Warui, who died while in a police custody in Mombasa County, the senator said it's about time government takes appropriate action on police brutality and extrajudicial killings in the country.
We cannot watch when young people who are the future of this country continue to be murdered and killed, whereas these are the people we are looking up to raise families, to be leaders.
For as long as people continue to die in police custody, we will not keep quiet, Honorable Speaker. This is a matter, once again, we will send thoughts and prayers, we will condemn the police, but there is no assurance. There is no assurance that we will not be back here, Honorable Speaker, speaking about another young life lost.
That story now takes us on our first break. We come back with plenty more, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Je, Jeshi la Ulinzi la Kenya KDF linawatangazia zoezi la usajili wa Kenya ambao wangependa kujiunga nao kama wanajeshi. Zoezi hili litafanyika mwezi Oktoba mwaka huu. Usajili ambao utafanyika ni wa General Service Officers GSO, Cadets Regular and Graduates, Specialist Officers, General Duty Recruits, Tradesmen and Women and Defense Forces Constables. Je, una ndoto za kutumikia taifa la Kenya kama mwanajeshi? Kwa maelezo zaidi tegea KBC Radio Taifa tarehe 4 mwezi Oktoba, punde tu baada ya taarifa ya habari ya saa 1 usiku. Kadhalika, kwa maelezo zaidi ya wale ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya, tembelea tovuti ya www.mod.go.ke. Kumbuka, tendo la hongo na ufisadi wa aina yoyote ni kinyume cha sheria na hakuna anayeweza kushawishi usajili wako, kwani zoezi hili ni la bila malipo kwa wote ambao wangependa kujiunga na jeshi la Kenya. Ukikubali kuadaiwa, utapoteza pesa na mali yako na kuishia korokoroni.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunaangazia kilimo kutumia mbinu za asili. Kisha jinsi ya kuwafuga ng'ombe, kondoo pamoja na kuku.
Hawa wanyama wako na challenges mingi pia. Kukua na wao inabidi ujipange. Kwanza majani, unafaa ukuwe na majani ya kutosha, wanakula vizuri. Una make sure ni huko mahali wanalala ni kusafi. Alafu pia dawa ya minyoo unaipea. Kwa wakati after 1 month unaipea dawa.
Tazama Mkulima kila Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Welcome back. Now, the tourism industry is diversifying offerings beyond the traditional safari and beach offerings in efforts to more than double earnings to $1 trillion shillings in 2 years. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, speaking at the official opening of the 15th edition of the Magical Kenya Travel Expo in Nairobi, said the tourism industry could create thousands of jobs, a vision that is within reach if Kenya boldly repositions itself as a diverse world-class destination.
The government has set ambitious targets for the tourism industry, aiming for 1 trillion shillings in annual revenue by the year 2027. This is expected to be earned from doubling domestic tourists to 10 million bed nights and attracting 5.5 million international visitors annually. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki believes Kenya must diversify, expand connectivity and strengthen infrastructure to unlock the tourism industry's potential.
The tourism sector must become a critical interlocutor in the transport, logistics, trade and investments, land and environment, MSMEs, labor and social protection sectors, driving the policy focus towards synergized outcomes.
Attracting investments in tourism and even in the conservation space, that is one of our priorities. The second one is renewed and more bold marketing to showcase our country. Thirdly, capacity building.
Professor Kindiki cited government-led projects such as the Nairobi-Nakuru Summit Highway, the Dongo-Kundu bypass and increased international flights flying into Kenya as part of wider efforts to expand access into the country.
We must develop new tourist products and exploit untapped potential in non-traditional attractions and regions to spur the sector's growth. We must capitalize on the opportunities that intra-Africa tourism can provide.
Through the AFCFTA, we therefore must make progress towards enhancing market access in the tourism services sector, and this means the removal of discriminatory barriers and the ease of movement of persons.
The 3-day expo alongside the Africa Tourism Investment Forum targets to draw more than 6,500 delegates from 40 countries. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
And Kenya is among African countries that is still facing high food prices due to current world conflicts and impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Africa Economic Research Consortium Research Director Abi Kader says staple food prices are yet to reduce to pre-COVID and the Russia-Ukraine conflict due to prolonged food supply chain disruptions.
Kenya's trade with Ukraine and Russia is estimated at 3%, with trade balance in favor of the two Eastern European nations. Before the Russian-Ukraine war, Kenya imported goods worth 9 billion shillings from Ukraine, mainly grains, and 174 billion shillings from Russia, which mainly constituted of fertilizer. Since the war started, food prices have increased 2.5% due to a breakdown in agriculture supplies value chain.
One of the frustrating aspect of the food prices is that not only the increase or the trend is being increasing, it also is staying.
The Africa Economic Research Consortium believes increasing targeted subsidy interventions will lower the cost of food production.
The staple food prices have increased. When the international prices have come down, the prices for staples as well as cash crops or tradables hasn't come down as much.
High fuel prices have also driven up the cost of food, leading to increased cases of malnutrition.
We have countries that are said to be doing very well, but there's so much poverty in this country. People lack food.
They also want countries within the region to reduce both tariff and non-tariff barriers on food items to increase the flow of food and enhance intra-Africa trade.
Why are we importing wheat from Ukraine when we could import wheat from Ethiopia, which is right next door? Why are we importing beef from Brazil when we have cows? Why are we importing chicken when we can rear our own chicken?
Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, with Kenya launching its first open university in 2023 based in Konza Technopolis, tonight we center our discussion on technology in learning, looking at just how far we've come as a country. And my colleague O'Brien Kimani is in Konza tonight, and he'll be bringing us this conversation. O'Brien.
Doreen, Arange, thank you very much back there in Broadcasting House. I want to take you back to the year 2015 when the United Nations convened a meeting in Paris, France. They developed what they called the 17 Sustainable Goals, and goal number 4 was about access to quality education by the year 2030. And we are talking about 5 years from now. And technology was poised to play a significant role in driving access to quality education. And you know what? Technology is accelerating the adoption of technology the world over. And this has actually been aided by technology like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, and so much. And so tonight, we just want to focus on open education. It's not a new concept, by the way. The University of South Africa was the first institution of higher learning here in Africa to pioneer that concept, and is now catching up with the rest of the world. Kenya started this concept in 2023. And so we're going to discuss this with the Open University of Kenya Vice Chancellor, Professor Elijah Omwenga. He's joining us tonight, live from Konza Technopolis. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And we also have a student who is pursuing her master's in business in technology education. This is Cynthia Katusia. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Prof, help us understand, you've just celebrated your second anniversary in this place. How would you describe the progression of Open University concept here in Kenya?
Thank you so much, Brian, for that question. Yes, the concept of open learning or the open university can be traced back to the time when we had distance education or distance learning. And this was a mode which was used to deliver programs to mostly working class people or those who are not able to come to the physical campus. And this dates back to maybe 50 or so years since the establishment of the Royal Technical College, which in Kenya, which was later renamed Makerere with its constituent colleges Dar es Salaam and the University of Nairobi. Then that model has metamorphosized into what we're now calling online learning, and this is within the framework of the open university system or open learning, which is a flexible mode of delivery of instruction where learners don't have to get into a physical space for them to learn. They learn when they have the opportunity to do so. There are no barriers of age, gender, or time, and also it is an affordable mode of learning. And therefore, the open learning concept, or so to speak, open university around the world, they are there to help those who do not have the time to be at the place and time of study synchronously, so that they are able to learn and get education from the comfort of where they are, quality education, by the way, and using curated programs done in such a manner that they stand alone to help the knowledge transfer seamlessly and help the learner to enjoy the learning process. So over the world, the Open University of Kenya is now among the latest universities to be formed, to be established. Among the Commonwealth, we are the 34th, and we earned that certification in a very colorful ceremony in Mauritius, sponsored by the Commonwealth of Learning. But there are about 800 or so open universities around the world.
Very well. And when you look at the open learning concept vis-a-vis the face-to-face classroom, ward, or conventional form of education, do you see the issue of cost coming into play? And if yes, by what margins?
Thank you. Yes, one of the objectives of setting up an open university, such as the Open University of Kenya, is to address the issue of affordability. The university established under Section 24(1)(b) of the Universities Act, which states inter alia, there shall be an Open University of Kenya to address strategic interests. One of those strategic interests is the issue of affordability, because we realize that many people would wish to have higher education, but because of costs and challenges of affordability, they are not able to access. And therefore, the university has addressed that issue by bringing down the cost to about 1/4 of what the brick and mortar universities charge. And the reason for this is perhaps threefold. First, we don't need the massive physical infrastructure for us to run our programs. Secondly, the massive nature in which we are able to attract students with minimal resources, so long as we have technology in place. And of course, the third and most important is the issue of setup. The infrastructure required to set up an open university is initially high, yes, because of the technology that we put together, because of the programs that we develop that are generally very expensive. But then over time, we are able to meet that cost through massive investment in terms of students' enrollment. However, let me quickly mention that the quality of the Open University of Kenya is just like any other, because of the initial investments in terms of quality programs, highly qualified staff, and the infrastructure that is enabling higher learning to take place at this university.
I want to turn now to Cynthia Gatusia, as a student, and I know you're a product of the face-to-face educational model. Now you've transitioned into open learning. How has this transition been for you?
Thank you. I must admit that at the beginning, I was a bit skeptical about the whole idea, given that for my undergraduate studies, I did experience the traditional classroom setup where it's face-to-face. I have to attend classes, I have a schedule, I have venues to go to. But then again, my experience so far with the Open University of Kenya has been nothing other than seamless and smooth. I like to highlight key aspects for me that have really stood out. First of all, I'd like to mention the way we learn and how we access content. We have a learning management system. Basically, where I'm able to access my content. I can just, through my student portal, I can cross over to the learning management system, and I can go through my various course units. I can access content, and I do not have to worry about perhaps being behind as far as the classwork is concerned, because I'm able to access this content whenever and wherever I want to. Apart from this, we also have the synchronous sessions with our instructors. So I feel like the Open University is not taking away from the face-to-face setup, but it's just incorporating or including what best it has to offer. Because through these sessions with our instructors and my colleagues or the other students, we are able to exchange ideas, discuss, and then we can go about a discussion from wherever they are, and we can just exchange ideas and learn from each other.
You talked about, being skeptic, at the beginning. Where was the skepticism coming from?
Given that from my undergraduates, I had the traditional classroom setup, so I wanted to find something that would allow me to balance my work and also my studies. So going for a traditional quote-unquote degree or master's program where I have to attend classes either in the evening or during the weekend, it would not be tenable for me, because sometimes perhaps my schedule is packed and I'm not able to attend those physical classrooms. So when I found that there's a university offering this opportunity to learn from wherever I am and whenever, I found that this may work for me. So I had to try it out.
I mean, you came from a setup whereby you used to go to a lecture hall.
Correct.
You used to meet your lecturers. You used to interact with your fellow students. Now you have got into an environment whereby the three do not exist. Do you still feel like a student?
Thank you for that question. I will say that perhaps not that they don't exist entirely, but the mode that they exist in, because now it's more technology-enhanced learning. So we have virtual classrooms, or rather, the way we have these conferences, these video conferences. So it's like the traditional classroom, but just that allow me to say digitized. So I'm able to attend my lecture just from wherever I am without going to the classroom physically. And then the interactions we have with our students, the fellow students, it's very much basically like any other class setup, just that we're doing it virtually now. Yes.
So can you see the other students?
Yes, through the video conferencing.
Through video conferencing,
yes.
Very well. At what point did you make that decision, to follow or to go to pivot towards open learning?
Okay, thank you for that question. So also the kind of program that I'm pursuing that seeks to integrate aspects of technology and learning and basically instruction and learning. So it was a great avenue for me to pursue a degree at a university that is also incorporating this aspect. So it's more of like getting to test or go through the whole process to ensure that whatever I'm looking to have achieved by the end is actually attainable and can work. Yes.
Prof,
yes.
You are given this assignment of ensuring that the open learning concept in Kenya becomes a reality, back in 2023 by President William Ruto. How has this journey been for you? And for context here, it's good to tell people that the Open University of Kenya is a public owned university.
Thank you for that. Yes, when we were chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, the President specifically asked us to focus on programs that are pro the people, that are market-driven. We started off with 7 flagship programs, including data science, cybersecurity, business and entrepreneurship, postgraduate diploma in leadership and accountability, postgraduate diploma in technology education. Those were our flagship programs, which helped us to enroll our first students in January 2024. The university opened its doors through our virtual setup to our 824 students. And that formed the basis of us to be proud that we are now established. We handheld these students through the process, and we are glad that 78 of them and the 2 postgraduate diplomas graduated last year in November with their qualifications. That was one of the milestones that we are so proud of. The second journey is the establishment of the structures of the university. These include the council, the management board, the senate, the dean's committee, and other members of the university that are required to be there for us to be able to run the affairs of the university. The third very important milestone is the development of additional programs. We now are proud to say we have 24 programs which are on offer, and about 6 which are under consideration at various stages for approval at the Commission as well as the Nursing Council. And these 24 programs have attracted over 15,000 students.
15,000?
Within a very short period of time, which I can break down from
2 years
800 students a few months ago to now talking about 15,000 students broken down into 4,000 students in undergraduate programs, about 1,900 in the master's, and others in the postgraduate diploma, and of course about 300 in PhD. And the rest to make out the 15,000 are the short course programs, which we call professional development programs or micro-credentials, which stack up to give you the degree required. The third or fourth important milestone which I want to talk about is the collaborations that we have established. We have now about 15 MOUs that we've signed with our partners to help us in the internship and attachment of our students. Because yes, we are fully virtual, but at the end of the day, we want our students to have the real life experience where they get attached or they interact with the industry collaborators.
Very well.
And those, yes.
Yeah, I remember when President William Ruto came here to commission or to charter this university. He talked about also developing programs that are going to uplift people, at the bottom of the pyramid, and he talked about the hustlers, bearing in mind that his administration came into power riding on the hustler concept. Have you figured out on how to bring them on board?
Yes, thank you for that question. Indeed, 67% of our programs are STEM oriented. The rest are social sciences and arts. That's one area that we are complying in terms of the government's agenda for STEM-based education in 2029. These STEM-based subjects include, as I've already mentioned, courses like data science, cybersecurity, business and entrepreneurship, courses which we believe will empower the people to be self-employed rather than job seekers. That's one way of addressing the hustlers out there, the people who require to be empowered, to be given the skills to enable them to be self-reliant in the society. The other area is the short courses that we have established, quite a number of them, and these short courses, which we call micro-credentials, are geared towards reskilling, retooling the people in a very short period of time so that then they are more productive or they're able to get better employment at the various job stations.
Very well. Katusia, from where you see it, I mean, when you look at this concept of open learning, is this something that you'd want your friends to take up? Is this something that you can encourage your family members to take?
Thank you. So as I had previously highlighted, so far I have really enjoyed my journey at the Open University of Kenya. So I definitely vouch for this, and I would encourage any prospective student or anyone who would like to pursue a degree program or a diploma, postgraduate diploma program, or short course, as Prof has mentioned here, to go for it and try to see how they can upscale, they can develop on their skills, they can just incorporate more and more into perhaps their career or anything that really helps for them to advance their knowledge or anything of the sort.
Help me understand this. I mean, we live in a country whereby internet connectivity is about 70%, and so you still have about 30% of Kenyans, outside internet connectivity. How would they access this form of education without proper access to internet?
Perhaps allow me to say that we must acknowledge that this is indeed a potential challenge to a lot of people. So currently, perhaps they try to find accessibility or anything of the sort, and perhaps Prof.
Yes, I can weigh in on that.
How the Open University of Kenya is looking to resolve such challenges or anything that may hinder students from fully enjoying this new mode of learning.
And even before we hear that from Prof, because I know he's in a better position to respond to that, do you end up spending a lot of money on buying internet so that you can attend classes?
Okay, so I do require internet connectivity, but also one of the helpful things with this mode of learning, and also as I had highlighted the learning management system, some of this content, actually most of it, is available for us to download and access later, even offline. So you can have...
Also, you can also access the content offline.
Exactly.
Very well. Prof, I'm sure you...
Yes, thank you for that question. The university is targeting at least 2 graduates per village in the next few years.
2 graduates?
2 or more, at least. Per village here, I mean per ward. We have about 50 wards in this country. So in the next few months, we are targeting to ensure that we have at least 2 graduates or 2 students per ward. How do we want to achieve that? Through the question you've asked, we're targeting opportunities for us to grow even the digital hubs or resource centers in the Huduma centers where students can go and access the resources at their own time with a very minimal fee that we will negotiate. Besides, we are talking about pre-loaded devices so that we can even address accessibility of education at the prisons.
Wow.
We are looking at that model where we know in the prisons internet may not be allowed, but preloaded devices where we have the content and even creating local area networks where that content will be residing for the inmates to access, and even at the end of the day have a discussion among themselves and train themselves among themselves. The third.
Because we have to wind up.
Whitelisting. I'm talking about whitelisting of certain databases which are of education nature that you don't have to pay for the internet. And as I was mentioning about accessibility, recognition of prior learning is another area that the university is very strong on, so that you don't have to have succeeded in certain aspects in life earlier on for you to enroll in this particular program.
As we wind up this interview in 1 minute, I want to hear from each one of you. Where do you see, as a student, do you see more opportunities in this space of learning? And what is your message to young people who are watching this interview and asking themselves, how do I get onboarded?
Thank you. We must recognize that technology at the moment, and we have so many advancements, so technology is ever changing, and therefore we cannot ignore it. Even in the wake of automation and AI, we must try to keep up with the trends, okay? So I think it's very important that as young people, we try to embrace it as much as possible. And I think the Open University of Kenya is at the forefront of ensuring that these aspects of technological and educational advancements are well incorporated. So by being at the Open University of Kenya, I'm very much in the loop of business changes. So it is definitely something we must try to keep up with and embrace.
Very good. In 30 seconds, where do you see
Yes,
open learning concept going?
Thank you. This is a public chartered university and commissioned to offer higher education, quality higher education that is supported by the digital age. The future of university is digital, and the university is poised to offer an alternative, effective and quality higher education through a very progressive infrastructure that we have put in place, including artificial intelligence, generative AI tools, tutors which are supporting the lecturers to make decisions on how to intervene to ensure that the student's journey is very, very smooth. The future of the open learning in this country is at the Open University of Kenya.
Very good. At that point, we have to come to the close of this conversation. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I don't want to praise more, but I just want to say what Prof. Omwenga has just said. The future of education is digital. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. We are taking you back to Broadcasting House, where Doreen Arange will continue with the rest of the Prime Edition. Back to you in Broadcasting House.
Thank you, Brian Kimani, for that cogent discussion there on just technology in learning and how far we've come as a country in respect to that. Back to studio, we continue with the day's reports, and still on matters business. Elgon Kenya Limited is banking on the revival of the 4K Club movement in schools to spark greater interest in agriculture among young people. Speaking after receiving an award from President William Ruto for Elgon Kenya's support towards the Presidential Farmers Awards scheme during the Nairobi International Trade Fair, Managing Director Dr. Bimal Katniaria said Elgon Kenya is supporting over 2,000 schools across Kenya under the 4K Club initiative, giving pupils a practical platform to learn, develop agribusiness ideas, and view agriculture as a viable career rather than a fallback option.
Because employers are not able to find skilled employees with the right skills for their agriculture jobs. So agriculture has moved on, to be honest. It's much more high-tech, much more AI-driven. It's no longer where you go in the field and you just do some farming. But the future of agriculture is technology, it's about innovation, it's about how to get to the market with the cheapest and best quality products.
We used to say agriculture is for the old or agriculture is for the poor, but now we want to change that. We want to train the young ones and tell them there's money in agriculture, and if they start from the young age and going from primary to secondary to university, then at the end we have successful farmers because they have technology, they have energy.
We usually carry an odd number of judges, and every judge scores. Then the results are aggregated and then averaged, such that the best, and then they are ranked. The best emerge the winner.
This trophy is an important thing to me because it has recognized me as a women in agriculture, whereby we teach women, mostly women, on how to make sure they have vegetables in their farm using the multi-story garden.
We work closely with the farmers, we work closely with the distributors, we work closely with the companies. I'm also very proud to be associated with Elgon Kenya, which is one of our major suppliers, in our effort to bring inputs, agricultural inputs closer to the end user.
And that is, it helps families to have enough food, which is
There is need for sustainability and transparency in financing models, including public-private partnerships to stem rising cases of vandalism and stalled projects. Architectural Association of Kenya President George Ndege says urban financing is heavily donor-dependent that alienates some projects from the users, thus making them easy targets for vandalism. Here's Regina Manyara with that story.
It's very important for us to say that if you control the funding and the resourcing,
then you can easily influence the identity and the character of the built environment in any place.
Despite making strides through initiatives like the Affordable Housing Program, the issuance of green bonds for student housing, and public-private partnership projects such as the Nairobi Expressway, urban financing remains heavily donor-dependent.
If we want to overcome the challenges that we face in terms of housing, it's critical to understand how local action can leverage and maximize the resources and the legal frameworks that are available nationally.
To address this, those in the built environment are advocating for expansion beyond traditional funding to embrace public-private partnerships, municipal bonds and green financing to deliver projects.
If people are happily and freely giving these funds and they can see the results, whether it's me benefiting or someone I know benefiting or the community benefiting, I think people will happily contribute to it. And the aspects of ownership is very important. We have situations, for example, of vandalism of our infrastructure.
Dege says to deliver sustainable urban systems, there is need for clear ownership from government, private partners and the communities they serve.
Whatever we are doing is disjointed. And I think it's important that a lot of this information needs to be open source. If counties are approving projects which have public implication on the public space, that information should be shared. It should not be secret who owns what land in Kenya, what is being built in Kenya, by who. Affordable housing is going on right now. That information should be public mode, and I believe it's there if you want to go and check it and see who is doing what and where the process is at. That helps other people plan.
If not addressed, they warn that projects risk stalling, duplication or failing to meet the community needs. In order to achieve effective urban systems, experts say that it goes beyond financing to ownership. If the user, you and I, feel that this project belongs to us, then we're likely to use it and appreciate it instead of vandalizing it. Those are some of the take-homes from the AAK convention that is currently underway in Kisumu County. I'm Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Thank you, Regina Manyara, for that report. And our 10 small and medium enterprises will receive up to 100.8 million Kenyan shillings in funding through the E4 Impact Business Accelerator Program. The SMEs drawn from organization's Entrepreneurship Center was selected after undertaking a 12-month training program where 32 entrepreneurs were equipped with skills on how to maximize their ventures. E4 Impact Director David Cheboriot says the organization adopted venture building approach to enable SMEs attract the much needed funding to expand their enterprises.
For us, it's important to continue, of course, supporting the work that E4 Impact and the partners in the accelerator are doing. But also we pretty much look forward to see the seed that we have planted together blossom and produce, spillover outcomes and also be ready to stand on its feet.
The critical areas for sure that are cross-cutting to the ventures are around ability to raise more capital, because we dedicated a bit of funding to go into incubation. So here they just need a bit of funding to have that proof of concept. And there we are funding, let's say, from 25,000 euro to about 50,000 euro. But at the acceleration cohort, they actually can access up to 100,000 euros of investment.
I see a huge potential in supporting entrepreneurs to become ready, export ready, investment ready, and to play both in the domestic markets, but also beyond, in the export market, in the regional markets, and also in the European markets.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha ngoja, na kwa entry moja unaweza angukia na uspin hadi mara 3. Na ikigonga 25 25,000 na kufikia instantly. Cheza Spin Corner sasa hivi kwa star 419 hash option 4. Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Plans are underway to establish Menengai Crater as an ideal tourist destination for adventure and health enthusiasts as the government taps into the caldera geothermal activity and ecology for geotourism. Visitors will be able to hike, bike and explore nature trails within the ecosystem, a move hailed as a game changer in fostering tourism diversification in the Great Rift region.
About 10 kilometers north of Nakuru City sits the Menengai Crater, steeped in local myths and beliefs about its spiritual inhabitants. Locals believe that steam billowing from the crater's floor has cultural significance. Leveraging on this, the Geothermal Development Company is spearheading efforts to unlock its geotourism potential.
Because of volcanicity, we are having the Menengai caldera. In its very design and architecture, even beyond the energy, is very fascinating for hiking, is very fascinating for trailing, is very fascinating for people who want adventure, and that is what GDC, in partnership with other stakeholders, are now looking towards the future.
Boasting of picturesque views of Nakuru, the Menengai Crater offers opportunities for immersive adventures such as hiking and biking. The site, which also features geothermal excavation, lush bushes and a crater floor that is home of diverse wildlife such as the dik-diks, monkeys, bird species and rare plants.
We are seeing opportunity in healing. We are seeing opportunity in spa, which is a steam bath and sauna. All of them will be powered by this steam. And we have already discussed with the GDC, just like it's happening in Naivasha with Kengen. We have a potential of doing it even more bigger in this place of Menengai.
The natural spa from geothermal, beyond just being the warm water, it has salts and minerals that are very therapeutic and very critical even for purposes of our skins.
The adventure park being set up in Menengai will feature a geothermal heated swimming pool and spa.
And I know in the next 10 years to come or 5 years to come, kutakuwa na many job opportunities for young youths like me.
Tourism industry players have welcomed the move, terming it key in fostering tourism diversification to include mountaineering, sporting, medicinal, cuisine and horticulture that would boost tourist numbers in the region. Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Kalahari Limited is set to acquire a 29.7% stake in East Africa Portland Cement in a strategic move to revive the listed firm. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Trade, PS for the State Department of Industry, Dr. Juma Mohwana, said the market share of East African Portland Cement has reduced to below 10% due to a myriad of challenges that could be addressed by the strategic investor.
As we have indicated, we have sufficient control over the board of Portland Cement. We also know, Chair, maybe this needs to go on record, that in terms of market share, East African Portland at one time enjoyed almost 100% market share. Today, as we talk, it is struggling. It's between 3 and 5%. So it's a very, very small player.
Small-scale farmers are set to benefit from a 332 million shilling Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation funding that targets to mainstream solar energy into the agriculture value chain. Irrigation Secretary Vincent Kabuti says the government plans to leverage solar energy to lower the cost of production and promote sustainable agriculture.
The cost of production in the agriculture sector reduces farmers' earnings by more than 50%. as farmers grapple with high input costs. To reduce costs, the government has been keen on promoting renewable energy in the agriculture value chain. Kenya is one of the 2 countries that are set to benefit from a 3 years, 332 million shillings Solar 2 project that targets to integrate solar energy in the agriculture value chain.
Solar is also giving us opportunity has given most of these communities opportunity to utilize water at their at local level. So you don't have to invest in very big transportation infrastructure, conveyance infrastructure, for you to be able to have access to water.
The project, which will be implemented by the International Water Management Institute, will assist small-scale farmers access credit to access solar technologies to mitigate against climate change.
Solutions, especially for irrigation, have really built resilience for communities against the effects of climate change.
We are working on to support policies, in particular on including financing solutions for agriculture, capacity building, and knowledge exchange.
Solar energy is also earmarked to promote value addition and agro-processing.
Not really providing just energy, but the productive use of it, right? So, which means increasing productivity, creating jobs and livelihood for smallholder farmers.
Kenya's irrigation potential is 3.3 million acres, while only about 710,000 acres are currently under irrigation. The government's target is to irrigate 1 million acres by 2030 under the National Irrigation Sector Investment Plan.
And the first maize production cycle under a public-private partnership model in the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project will be harvested next week. National Irrigation Authority Chief Executive Officer Engineer Charles Muasia, who hosted National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi, Irrigation PS Ephantas Kimotho, and other senior government officials on a tour of the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project, said the project has so far created over 5,000 jobs.
According to the National Irrigation Authority, the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project has 1.5 million acres suitable for irrigation. The government entered into a public-private partnership with Selu Limited to develop the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project. Selu Limited is responsible for large-scale grain and seed maize cultivation. The first maize production cycle under the PPP arrangement commenced in June 2025. And now the maize is ready for harvest.
What you have seen across, walking around, and you can see maize here, I'm told the first harvest will be next week, where the person that has been given the contract, it's called Selu, has already put under production, maize production, 1,500 acres.
Irrigation Principal Secretary Ephantas Kimotho says the project has created over 5,000 direct jobs and more indirect jobs, stimulating rural economies and promoting agro-industrial development through investments in value addition and support services.
But more important also is the job creation. This project, as we talk, because it's a highly mechanized project, by the time we are at full production of 10,000 acres, this project will have employed 5,000 people.
Kimotho says results from the project for every shilling invested in agriculture, the return is 6 times.
But in terms of the output of this project, when we are at maximum of 10,000 acres, this project will be able to give us at least 2.8 billion Kenya shillings.
Among the challenges that have been dragging the project's timelines includes infrastructure, expensive power and wildlife that are currently being addressed by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority that is constructing the Galana Kulalu Bridge, Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation that is energizing pumping stations, and KWS that is involved in managing human wildlife within the project zone.
Such projects will be able to create linkages with other government projects like the County Aggregation Investment Park. We have seen as evidence where we have County Aggregation Investment Park and we have irrigation projects, there are many more investors who are likely to invest in such.
The Galana Kulalu Food Security Project is being implemented in 3 phases. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Nuclear Power and Energy Agency is leveraging partnerships with academic institutions to build capacity for those who will work in Kenya's first nuclear power plant set for construction in 2027. Nuclear Power and Energy Agency CEO Justus Wabuyabo says the project will require over 10,000 skilled workers ranging from engineers to masons and plumbers.
We are going to collaborate with NUPEA so that we can produce people who will be working in the nuclear industry. Remember, NUPEA as an agency have been given that task so that by the turn of 2030, we have something going on in the country.
We hope that through this collaboration, Masinde Muliro will be one of the institutions that will offer these trainings for the workers that will work in the nuclear plant that is scheduled to be built in Siaya.
Now, Kenya is ready to host the 24th Common Market of Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Summit of Heads of State and Government in Nairobi. Cabinet Secretary for Investments, Trade and Industry Lake Kenyanjui emphasized the importance of the event, saying the summit comes at a crucial time for Africa as President William Ruto is set to assume the chairmanship of COMESA, positioning Kenya to champion for and expand intra-Africa trade, tourism and wildlife. CS Rebecca Miano noted that beyond diplomacy, these gatherings elevate Kenya's profile as a leading destination for meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibitions widely known as Mike Tourism. The high-level conference will be held from the 6th to 9th of October at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC.
Transferring to Kenya, and President William Ruto will now be the chairperson of COMESA. That's a very powerful platform to advocate and to champion trade, not just for Kenya, but for 21 countries. And at a time when there's turbulence across the world, at a time when there's increasing threat to trade and business, we believe that this is a platform that can change, not just for Kenya, but for the region and beyond. So we look forward to this event.
The tourism side, we are showcasing Kenya's ability for the MICE sector, meetings, incentives, and conferencing, which is a very significant part of our tourism, where we have people bringing their meetings here, and we look forward to all the delegates. And we are planning and encouraging everyone who visits Kenya to take time off the conference and the summit to see some of our tourism products.
The White House says mass layoffs of U.S. federal workers will begin within 2 days as lawmakers trade blame over the first government shutdown in almost 7 years. The shutdown began on Wednesday after Republicans and Democrats in Congress failed to agree on a new spending plan before the midnight deadline. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the borders.
Senate has adjourned, raising fears that the shutdown could drag on and threaten hundreds of thousands of jobs, as well as risk costing the U.S. economy billions in lost output. At a White House briefing on Wednesday afternoon, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance made a rare appearance along Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who said mass job cuts will happen within 2 days. Vance accused the Democrats of playing political games. Top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer had earlier accused Republicans of trying to bully Democrats into accepting their funding plan. Germany Chancellor Rachel Reeves is poised to bow to intense pressure from supermarkets by removing retailers from the top band of business rates after warnings that the increased burden will fuel higher food inflation. Germany government proposed increasing business rates on properties with a retailable value of more than $500 to afford making a discount for small retail and hospitality premises permanent. The government has not set the rates, and so both sides remain in the dark about how much they will be saved or hit with. The changes are due to take effect in April 2026. Finally, Swedish ball-bearing makers India announced the successful completion of its industrial business demerger. The newly independent industrial entity is slated to be listed by November, which the company anticipates will unlock value for shareholders. The demerger allows SKF India to maintain its automotive operations while providing shareholders direct access to two complementary growth sectors. SKF India will continue as the automotive entity, while SKF Industrial aims to establish itself as a strong independent business focused on industrial growth.
Unajua wakili wangu alikuwa ameniambia hii kesi imedropiwa yote entirely. Unafanya nini na iba kubwa hapa?
Kwani boma yangu imerogo. Shida moja ikiisha, shida ingine inaingia na inaingia imejaa ndani ya mabag.
Hi dad.
Wacha kuniita hivyo mimi.
I thought tuliongea kwanza niongee na wazazi before ukuje.
Kama uniamini tunaweza enda kupima. Hello.
Ninyi mhama kutoka kwa nyumba yangu.
Wacha niwapatie muda muongee.
Mimi siwezi acha pesa na ziko.
Maxine ulikuwa na hii pesa yote?
Why don't I take you for a house tour? At least I get to see where my babies are going to grow up in. Babies?
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. President William Ruto has recommended that 500 sportsmen and women be hired into Kenya's disciplined forces, including the Kenya Defence Forces, the National Police Service, to provide them with a base to raise their standards of competitiveness on the international stage. President Ruto was speaking at State House Nairobi this morning while at a breakfast meeting with the Kenya national athletics team that returned home from the World Championships in Tokyo, Japan.
President William Ruto recommended that 200 sportsmen and women be hired into the military, 150 be hired into the National Police Service, with the other forces including Prisons Kenya, Kenya Wildlife Service and National Youth Service sharing the remaining 150 slots.
To provide them a base where they can get the necessary equipment, the necessary support, for them to continue raising the standard of sports in our country.
While welcoming home the Kenya athletics team that finished second at the World Championship in Tokyo, Japan, President Ruto at State House Nairobi also challenged Cabinet Secretary for Sports Salim Mvurya to restructure the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya in an effort to ensure that Kenyan athletes continue to compete and win clean in all the competitions they are involved in.
As we support them, we also make sure that characters who have no good intention do not get into the way of the talents of our young people.
We did amazing as women. We came back home with 6 gold medals and 1 gold medal from men's side. So men, you have to pull your socks up.
All the 7 gold medalists received a reward of 3 million shillings, silver medalists 2 million shillings, and bronze medalists 1 million shillings each from the government.
And still on athletics, that Kenya is committed to complying with the 5 remaining requirements set by the World Anti-Doping Agency within the next 2 months in order to avoid sanctions for its athletes. Speaking today after inspecting the laying of the new tartan track at the Nyayo National Stadium, Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya said the country has embarked on restructuring the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya as well as reviewing the budgetary allocation through Parliament to increase its funding as per the Athletics Integrity Unit and World Anti-Doping Agency standards.
Our athletes in Tokyo, they won fair and square, you know, with a high level of integrity. We don't have issues of doping because the high level athletes were tested by the Athletics Integrity Unit, and therefore we have a lot of integrity from our athletes. However, we await also the decision of WADA on the status of Kenya. But by and large, we have complied with all the requirements of the anti-doping agency.
A total of 30,000 runners have enlisted for the 22nd edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, scheduled for the 26th of October. That will happen at the Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi. The marathon will consist of the full event, that is 42 kilometers for both men and women, the half marathon, the 10-kilometer race, the 5-kilometer fun run, as well as the 21-kilometer wheelchair race. The organizers of this year's race have already raised 233 million Kenya shillings, surpassing last year's 173 million Kenya shillings contributions from the sponsors. The marathon, through its social arm, seeks to transform lives, nurture talent, and drive positive change through Future Makers initiative. During the 2024 race, a total of 48 million Kenya shillings was channeled towards the Future Makers initiative, with the organizers targeting to raise more towards the cause.
Future Makers is a Standard Chartered program where we help the youth and persons with disabilities to learn and grow. We provide programs such as employability as well as entrepreneurship to youth, women, as well as persons with disabilities. Some of the programs include the employability program that focuses on about 6 universities in Kenya, as well as the Women in Tech, where we partner with IB Strathmore University. What we make sure is we provide access to finance, we give women startup funding for tech-based programs, and make sure that they're able to get some decent form of livelihood.
And we believe that it aligns with what we believe as our values. Healthy living, active lifestyle, and really working and ensuring that we're going with a 5-kilometer run gives us a chance for families to participate with their friends, their families. It's a really nice, fun time to be with them.
The key motivation for being part of this is because Heineken Zero as a brand actually offers alternatives to consumers who are looking for brands that can actually allow them to enjoy responsibly.
And the National Olympic Committee of Kenya has urged sports federations to work closely with schools to ensure Kenya gets the best teams for the upcoming 4th African Youth Games, set to be held from the 10th to the 20th of December this year in Angola, as well as next year's 4th Youth Olympics, set for Dakar, Senegal.
The National Olympic Committee of Kenya, NOC, is targeting to use this year's Africa Youth Games, which will feature athletes between 14 and 17 years old, to prepare for next summer's Youth Olympics, to be held in Africa for the first time.
As federations, you don't have control over athletes, especially the youth. Most of the youth come from schools, either primary or secondary schools, sometimes to universities. So the most important thing for a federation is to have a partnership with the schools nationally. When you have the schools nationally, you are giving opportunities to practically every child in the country.
Meanwhile, Athletics Kenya will engage male athletes and their coaches in a bid to improve their performance in future championships. Among the deliberations in the pipeline is discouraging them from competing in many road races and marathons and focusing on championships to strike a compensation formula to empower the athletes economically.
There has to be a developed plan say that those athletes who may need some support and they can prepare for cross-country and track and field can be supported so that now they don't go out there to compete to earn a living.
The new approach is aimed at improving men's performance in the 2027 World Athletics Championships as well as the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic Games.
Most of the athletes, they don't have jobs. They also have to support their families. They want to get money. So how do they do it? By engaging in races that might hurt them in the future. That's like a marathon, you know. And sometimes you cannot blame them. It is survival.
Kenya finished second on the medal table in the recently concluded World Athletics Championships in Tokyo with 11 medals, 7 gold, 2 silver and 2 bronze, with women sweeping all the gold medals from 800 meters to the marathon. Male athletes managed 3 medals, 1 gold, 2 bronze, while the women bagged 8 medals, 6 gold and 2 silver.
And Kenya is eyeing an impressive debut in badminton at the forthcoming Deaf Olympics, due to take place from the 15th to the 26th of November in Tokyo, Japan. 4 players, namely Titus Prop, Joseph Kago, Teresa Wamboi and Marilyn Wanjiru, will represent the country in the championship. Under the guidance of former player and top seed Morgan Keremi, the team is eager to impress on their debut appearance, where they will compete in the men's and women's singles as well as the doubles and mixed doubles. The 4 players were picked after a rigorous selection exercise conducted in Mombasa, which attracted players from 14 counties. The squad of 4 is fine-tuning itself in Nairobi, holding several friendly matches that have sometimes involved the hearing-able players. Unlike hearing-able athletes who rely on sound to judge their play, deaf players rely on their eyes, hence delayed reaction.
I feel happy a lot to represent Kenya because first, it is the first time I have never flied. I want to see what will happen, so I am happy for it. The government promised us this time we win, we'll get 3 million. We win gold medal, we'll get 3 million. So I feel like I want to win the game so that I can get the medal. Promise is to push and push and push to make sure that we get something for Kenya. And also, we also must get a medal. And I am sure to myself and also to the government that the medal will come to Kenya.
We are focusing mostly on the strength training, which is very key at this point because we've done the basics and all the other things. So we are really basically focusing on the strength training.
And Motorsports Kenya has founded an initiative that seeks to provide a platform for young and upcoming rally drivers to nurture and grow their talent. The Pamoja We Drive movement attempts to fill the gap left by a lull in local motorsports calendars, motivated by their desire to produce future Kenyan rally drivers. Former Kenya National Rally Championship two-wheel drive champion Eric Bengi, who is also the Motorsports Kenya acting secretary, revealed that the project plans to set up a solid ground on which the upcoming drivers will build their fledgling motorsports careers. We know a total of 48 drivers competing in the buggies and car classes are expected to take part in the 6th round of the Motorsports Kenya Autocross Championship, scheduled for the 4th and 5th of October at the Kasarani racetrack.
We are on our retirement, but we need to leave something for the younger generation. So we are setting up the platform for them, putting up the right structures, putting up the right tempo and pace in motorsports so that they can pick it up from there and move it forward. We thought that we cannot go into the future if you are not legally grounded. So that's the first thing that we are doing. From there, we set up the structures for the younger generation, which they can pick up from and move it forward. The structures are very sound. They are structures that are going to last us for at least 10 to 15 years. And by then, new minds, new brains will have come in to restructure it in a better way than we have. But for now, we have done one of the best structures in sports. To be honest with you, I think in Kenya we have WRC material sitting here. We cannot just keep them in the cage. We need to let them loose. We need to let them into the global scene.
And that's the sport for tonight. Remember, we're heading into a weekend. Lots of stuff to talk about coming into this weekend. The FKF Premier League and as teams break into the international break. And remember, KBC Channel 1 will be bringing you Kenya versus Burundi. And this is on the 9th of October, 4 p.m. East African time. And then Kenya versus Cote d'Ivoire, the 14th of October, 2025, 10 p.m. If you miss, or basically like they say, if you blink, you'll miss that link. Futa iko KBC. Back to Doreen.
Thank you so much, Daniel Home, for that. And of course, time for me to exit. Sit ground for the next program. We appreciate you for your valid company. This has been KBC Prime Edition. I'm Doreen Arange. Lucy Maura has been our sign language interpreter. Good night.
Shinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive. Not for persons under the age of 18 years. Dosi amelala. Sukuma moja. Wewe pia ndio muoga. Ndio maana Master Demi ilikupita. Demi haiko nipita bwana. Mimi najaza entry ticket zangu. Wewe hata unajua namba ya kusenda. Sini star 419 hash. Option. Ni Probox. Bwana finya hiyo kitu. Mfinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Mfinye. Finya hiyo kitu. Mfinye. Finya bwana.